Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is Douglas Hartman with Airbrushed Artistry, and just got back from vacation, so we're going to get back working on the Dungeons and Dragons, the Demon Skull. I had one of my subscribers ask, as far as this is on paper. It's Arches 140-pound cold pressed watercolor paper. Difference between cold press and hot press paper is the cold press is smooth, and I better double check that just to make sure. Yep. And I'm wrong. It's hot pressed. Hot press is smooth. Cold press has some tooth to it. Has a little bit of texture to it. But like I said, and I've mentioned this before, I'm no longer going to be working just straight on this paper. I'm either going to go, probably just go with canvas that's got some extra gesso on it, or even this slap some gesso on this paper and see how that works out. But anyway, and also with this guy here, I'm essentially going to do the whole right half. I'm going to finish it off so you guys don't have to watch 15 videos of me just doing the whole thing, especially when it's a symmetrical piece, okay? And I'm also going to be incorporating other projects in the mix to break things up so it's just not so monotonous. And I'm using Createx illustration colors. Right now I'm just using Payne's Gray. My mixture is essentially, it's reduced 50% with distilled water, and I will add 5 drops of distilled water and then 10 drops of the pre-reduced mixture, paint mixture, into my paint cup. And for this particular piece, I'm using my Awada HPB Plus. It's the 0.2 millimeter needle and nozzle setup, and I have a Drew Blair short trigger, but I also have on order, it should be coming here shortly. I went ahead and ordered short triggers from Drew Blair for my HB Plus and my C Plus, as well as 2 of the soft springs for the air valve mechanism for both those airbrushes as well. Because when I went from my Drew Blair Takumi that I have straight over to this guy here, it was such a world of difference that for a little bit of extra money, it's just a tremendous upgrade. And it just, how it feels and how it performs, it's just a personal preference. I like it a lot better. But anyway, I'm running 15 psi at the compressor, and what we are going to do today is got to throw in a little bit more texture on this the nasal bone right here, and work on that a little bit, and then probably come down and work on this right here and see how much I can get done going on today. Like I said, just got back from vacation yesterday, and just wanted to kind of chill out and relax today before I go into work tomorrow. But any cahoots, we're ready to get on it. And so again, this is the airbrush I'm using. I'm going to go ahead and put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drops of distilled water. And I use these guys here. I've mentioned this before too. I get these on Amazon. They're 1-ounce bottles, 40 of them for like $13 or $14. They work great. And I've already mixed up my paint. This is Payne's Gray illustration colors. That's reduced 50%. I've already got 5 drops in there. I'm going to put 10 drops of paint in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. And whenever you use these type of bottles with these cabinets, the screw-on legs, always make sure you go back and tighten that thing back down. I don't know how many times that I've left these open and they go to shake the paint and there's paint flying everywhere. Not a good deal. And once I get that mixture in the paint cup, I go ahead and I use my little sponge here. Some people use the fingers. I've stabbed myself once too many times to do that, so I use a sponge. And I essentially just back flush it a couple times. If you're using an airbrush and you have a cup, a lid on your cup that has a hole in it, you don't want to do this next to your project because paint will come up out of that hole, the bubbles will burst, and you'll have paint splatters on your artwork. So I'll do that 2 or 3 times. Make sure it's mixed up. Go ahead and spray some of that out. And then again, Windex with ammonia-free Windex on these Q-tips and lay it on the needle, roll it off. And we're good to go. And so in here, this bone right here, like this is going to be higher, a lot lighter. The side here is going to be coming off of the face, so this is going to be. And I used where's that little guy at? I used my little X-Acto blade knife to essentially cut in and get this highlight down. I want it to be nice and sharp and clean, but this is going to be a lot darker in here. And again, I'm going to go back over it also with straight up illustration black, really punch in the darks. And but yeah, so I will go in and go ahead and darken up some of the values. In here. Go ahead, I'll run a crack in there. So I want to have, let's see, kind of sit back a little bit and darken that up a little smidge. I do want this to be darkened up in here. I kind of like it to have just a little bit of a different feel as far as texture wise. Than the rest of the area. But again, I'm just going in adding some textures, and I want it to be darker down here on the eye socket is. and lighter up in here. So I'll go back in with an eraser and get in here and lighten up a lot of those areas. I can also just have a spot like maybe there's like maybe there's a crack in there or something like that. I'm going to add a little bit more value down in there. Darken that up a little bit. And go ahead and dunk a Q-tip in there. And you see that little bit of dark right there? That's just a smidge of tip dry on the brush there. And again, after I do that, I'll go ahead and back flush it a little bit, blow it out, good to go. All right, so I got some kind of like a more of a linear texture going in through there. And so now what I'll do is I'll go in and add some more cracks to it and stuff. And so then what I'm going to do is take a brush and step back a little bit, add some more value down in here. Darken up the eye socket a smidge. All right, so now what I'm going to do is get my little eraser doolollies here. These guys here. I'm going to come in and I'm going to work in and bringing out some a little bit lighter values in here. Okay. And once you do that, helps make this area stand up forward, and then this area be pushed back into the eye socket a little bit, which is what I want. And again, I'm going to take Mr. X-Acto knife here and just kind of, because there's probably a little bit of overspray in that area, but just to make sure that area is nice and cleaned up. And then what I'll do is let's see where I'll make come through, and I'm just gonna scrape a little bit. Just a smidge. Here and there. And I'll kind of give it a good look to it. Typically what I'll do is I'll wait until after I put in go over it with the black, the straight up illustration black, instead of Payne's gray. And then one of the last things I'll do then is come in with the X-Acto knife. Because after I do this, I want it to be a nice clean highlight without any overspray getting into it. But I just wanted to kind of show you. You know, I just, on this paper, I can just kind of scrape away. And actually, for a skull, it looks good because it's got a nice texture to it, you know. And so it's actually not too bad. But yeah, and so I'll come in here too later on and with an X-Acto blade hit this top area and some of these other areas in here to punch it out a little bit. Okay, what I can do is go ahead and darken up this area in the nasal cavity here. And also when I go back in with the black, the contrast of it will help lift the lighter tones further up, the higher contrast, so it'll look better. through there. But I will repeat this type of texture. It's more linear texture over on the left side as well. Okay, so I'm kind of digging that a little bit better. I need to lighten this area up in here as well, so it's more consistent here. And there's going to be the turning edge here, so I don't want to go down in there with it. Yeah, I'm kind of liking that a little bit better. Again, probably towards the end I'll go into the sockets and just add some transparent red in the eye sockets to kind of just give it a nice evil glow to it. I know, and one of the next projects I am going to be working on is, and I've mentioned this before in several of my videos, that I am I play Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm the dungeon master for the group that we got, and I'm going to be doing I'm going to be doing me a t-shirt, and it's probably going to have it's either going to have a mind flare on it or a beholder. And whatever creature I choose to do on the t-shirt, I will do the other one on a canvas. And I'll probably do, because that's a bigger project though. Well, I'll have to see what happens. All right, so I just used a stencil, went in, added some texture with it in there, and then what I'll do is obviously, the bottom section is going to be a little darker than the top here. We'll kind of, how do I want it to transition? Going like from more of like a bone to a horn kind of thing, or do I want to do it like a tooth? This is going to have definitely a different texture to it than this. I've already established that this is going to be more like a bone, and I think I'll do this nice and smooth with maybe some thinner, long, thin texture qualities to it. And how I'm going to tie that in, and we'll figure that out when we get to that point. But as for now, I just want to kind of roughly go in with a tonal, just to kind of get a better idea what I want to have in here. So, what kind of shapes do I want to have it? That is always the question. Texture, texture, texture. I love doing texture. It's easy to get lost in it too. That's why I know this piece is going to take me a while to finish, because getting in there and doing all the fine detail. But that's just kind of what I like to do, you know. So again, just like before, I've got kind of like the base texture down. So I went in kind of where it was nasty already, a little bit darker. Darken it up. Kind of determine the shape, you know, a little bit of this guy. I might want to lighten this up, or I can just, instead of lightening it up, go in, make that really dark in there. Then how does this flow into here now? And so again, with adjusting and changing the values, we create form and shape of this piece coming out to make it more three-dimensional instead of two. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is just like before, I'll go in these darker areas. I'll just go in. Let's see if I can do this by getting my big fat head in the way. And I'll go in and I'll darken some of these up. And in doing so, it just creates more value, changes, it just gives it a more realistic feel to it. And then what I'll do is a lot of them on the top side above the darker marks that I'm putting in here. I will, based on the form and the shape that they are creating, I will go in and lighten some of that up. I'll put some highlights, you know, on it. for right now, I'm just adding little, pits and grooves to the bone. Kind of like so. And I'll very lightly lay down some tone to it, so I have some paint to take away to help create more highlights. And so I'll stop there. Then I'm going to come in with an eraser. And before I do that, it's always a good idea, like if you're going to stop for just a little bit of a time to go in and erase and stuff, before you do that, go ahead and take care of your airbrush at the time to go ahead and get rid of any tip dry that you have. Before you set your airbrush down, and then go back in with an eraser. And have at it. It should be dry by now. Obviously this area right here is going to be lighter, but I want to carry that further down, just not the top ridge, because I don't want it to seem like this is coming into a point right here. I want to give this top area some, try to create this shape of this. At some point I will, so this is another one of those areas where along the length of this right here, I will come in with the X-Acto knife to create some more of those specular highlights. So like right here, I've got like this little ball shape going on here. So I'm going to try to creep in there with my eraser. See, the thing with the X-Acto blade is that I can come in and really get a pinpoint area that I want to erase. It's hard to do that with these larger erasers, because even when you try to get them down to a point, oops, as soon as you start racing with them, the very tip of it gets, wears off and it gets flatter. And so that's where that, and see, it's already got a little booger on the end of it. And that's where that X-Acto blade really comes in, is, where'd it go? You can come in, I can come in here and, this little section right here, I can just come in here and bam, put in a highlight. Bam, put in a highlight. Bam, you see how easy that is? Put in a highlight. So I will add some darkness in here to help create that shape right there. But yeah, I need to lighten this up. This whole area right in here. But that's all you do is adding value and taking away value to help us create some shapes and create the form and structure of this coming out. You know, I can also use Mr. Electric Eraser here. Let's see. I may have better luck using, I guess it helps if you have an actual part of the eraser sticking out, a little thingy there. Come in and hit some of these places with a very edge of that. See, but it also wears down pretty quickly. It gets eraser gunk all everywhere. All right. But what I'm trying to do is to bring the overall shape of this form further over here. And that's what you don't want it to do, get it all funky on there. Sorry about that, just had a little earthquake moment. But yep, it's a slow process. You guys know that. But you know what? It is so, you know, we could have gone through here and I already could have whipped this skull out in, you know, a short amount of time. But it would not have had near the cool factor that it's going to have with all the nooks and crannies and all the texture to it, you know. The thing I like about this Media, MEDEA, is got the little USB port in the back. So it's not battery, it's just rechargeable like your phone. You have to mess around with batteries and all that junk. You know, this guy here is also good for coming in here. Get a little bit lighter tonal values in the nasal bone there. Helps. This guy here is almost. This guy is almost kaputs. But yeah, that's looking pretty cool. And it kind of matches the rest of the texture in here. You know, that's another thing to take into consideration when you're doing this stuff, is how well, you know, the area that you're working on, how well does the texture on that flow in with the rest of your artwork, you know, the rest of your piece that you're doing. And so, what else do I want to do to this area? And I got a little, before I start with the airbrush, what I'm going to do is go ahead. I've already got the tip dry taken care of that I had on there. So I'm going to back flush it to help mix up the paint in there. Blow some out, give it some air, clear the paint off the needle, and we're good to go. When I sit back and look, yeah, so yeah, let me think here. I can make this, I can add a little bit of more, take a little bit of value off of this here to help it give it more of a rounded shape coming down. I can also just go in and bring the airbrush back a little bit. And we're just going to darken up this bottom edge here and see what kind of effect that'll have on it. Helps give it a little bit more of a rounded feel to it, I think. So, and to even further that, I can come in so I want to have that to be more like a pit shape, and then have it raised out around it, and then kind of flow into this thing here. But yeah, that's looking pretty cool. Give this guy, you know, I need to add a little bit more paint. See where I am at time-wise. I'm at about almost 45 minutes. I think what I'm going to do, so let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I want to try to keep my videos around, you know, 40 minutes to an hour or so. And I'm going to go ahead and stop there for right now. When I come back, I will work on this area right here and then move down into the teeth and stuff like that. And then from there, like I said, I will work on these teeth right in here. And then we'll work on his dome and his horn. Yeah. And so in the meantime, I'm going to figure out as far as, you know, the other project, I got to get some t-shirts. For one, I need to figure out if I'm going to use a black t-shirt or a white t-shirt. It makes a world of difference. Because if you're going to use a black t-shirt, you're going to, you know, I'm going to need to essentially do a, you know, outline stencil of the overall shape of the creature that I'm going to use to lay down white, and then go over it with color. And with a white t-shirt, you don't have to do that. So it makes a world of difference. And also prep the canvas I'm going to use to do the other, either the Mind Flayer or the Beholder, depending on which canvas I'm going to use. I've got a couple old ones laying around I can just go back over with. But yeah, again, I appreciate all my subscribers, I can't even talk, my subscribers, and hope you guys are, you know, I'm able to teach somebody something. If not, you know, I'm also I'm doing this for me as far as being more productive with my artwork. You know, I've got a talent and I need to use it instead of, you know, I'm not, instead of just sitting on the couch. and so that's, you know, one of the reasons why I started this channel is to get my lazy butt off the couch and to do more artwork. And any cahoots, I'm also going to do a video of just some of the other supplies that I use. You know, the compressor that I use, different brushes, Q-tips, cleaning fluids I use, the erasers, X-Acto blades, the paint mixture, blah, blah, blah. All that kind of stuff helps out too. All right, guys, until next time, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and have a great day. All right, man. Later.